Hello, everybody, from a hotel ballroom in Indianapolis. I'm Alejandro Zuniga. That's Sam Webb here with the Michigan Insider 24/7 Sports. The Michigan football team was just selected as the number one seed in the college football playoff. They are number one in the AP poll as well for the first time since the end of that 1997 season. It's been a quarter century in the making, Sam.
Yeah.
And they are on their way as the one seed to the Rose Bowl to face the Alabama Crimson Tide. Some unhappy people in Florida, I imagine.
Yeah.
But what a matchup, Sam. Initial reactions.
So I'm not surprised by Florida State. I'm a little surprised that they didn't have the ultimate deference to the SEC. I'm just so conditioned to this being the SEC's world, and everyone else is just a squirrel trying to find a nut, right? Like Sankey said, as he was on ESPN yesterday, he said, "You see all these other things, and something's different. The SEC is that different thing, right?" So I was thinking that they were going to put Georgia in anyway, but I get the Florida State thing. It's not about deserves. I mean, if they were going by who deserves to be in the college football playoff, there's no question Florida State would be there. But they consider injuries or absences, coaching departures. That's part of the criteria in determining who's going to be in the playoff. And I think they got it right. That's no disrespect intended to Florida State, but they are a different team without Jordan Travis. And you wound up with, I think Georgia is probably better than Texas, but I get Texas. It's a coin flip. Florida State would not have been one of the four best teams. So this is, to me, one of the most exciting playoff, fields that we've seen since they started doing it. I think it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks.
Hey, you talk about teams that have been through things this year, and Michigan is one of them, right? Jim Harbaugh has been suspended. There's been outside allegations. There have been players hurt. Zach Zinner, that was a very meaningful moment yesterday at the game, seeing him lead the team out onto the field and seeing the support last week in the Big House and last night at Lucas Oil Stadium. What a journey for this team, Sam. I mean, 13-0. I think it's the golden era, right? Of Michigan football, undefeated in back-to-back seasons, outright champs, 3 years in a row. And you talk about this is Alabama playing Michigan on its home turf. It's the Rose Bowl. It is the iconic venue for a Big Ten team that has won the championship. Just walk me through that.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think calling it the golden era, it's hard to have that kind of perspective in the moment, as I always say. But as you watch this team, how connected they are, how their ability to stay together and tune out all the noise, it's just different. It's different than it. I think there have been, like the 97 team, we'll see who winds up having more draft picks, but 97 or 06 had all those guys. When you hear 97 guys, and we talked about this, saying that this is the best Michigan team, I don't think it's just about talent. I don't think they're saying this is a more talented team than 97, because I don't know that it is. It can't be with Charles Woodson on that team, right? But his point is that everything that this team has had to overcome, they've done it, and you've seen them position themselves to go out and capture the ultimate prize while everything around them was trying to bring them down. You have the regular adversity, the injury adversity that all teams face, and then this extraordinary thing that's going around college football that's crazy, that you had this much attention on what I've been classifying as a misdemeanor. Like real football people, and this is how you know how intellectually is, if you can tie intellectually football dishonest, the football people are, they know. Football people know this is not a real thing. Like if it's a penalty, it's like a slap on the wrist penalty. But they are talking to a lot of football neophytes, people who don't even know they don't know football, calling this something more scandalous than what it is, to overcome all that, right? And to still be here and be in position to realize a championship is truly different. Now, they got to do it, right? So the first year, it was like you're facing an otherworldly team. Yeah. You don't have the quarterback yet that can match the quarterback on the other side. Stetson Bennett was a maestro in that game. If JJ plays from start to finish in that game, I think it's closer. I still think they lose. The next year against TCU, and I was talking to Donovan Edwards about this. Have you sat and thought about what was it? And I asked all those guys this offseason. Different guys have different answers. I don't know. Like Will was like, he felt like they were kind of too tight, like too down, and they weren't loose enough. I don't know if it's that, but keying on whatever it is, because that was a squad that was way better than TCU. If 9 out of 10 times they beat them 9 times, unfortunately, it was the 10th time that they played them, in my mind anyway, and TCU won the game. So I think whatever lessons there were to take from that preparation-wise, they would be applied. His deference was to the coaches. The coaches will know if there's anything we need to do different. But from a player perspective, I don't think there's any question that they go into this game as prepared as they've ever gone into a game for. And more importantly, they'll go into this game as healthy as they've been in quite some time. Because this team is banged up.
Mm-hmm.
They're JJ barely practiced. We talked about this heading into the Maryland game. That's a big deal. You know, they didn't know if Drake Nugent was going to play in this game yesterday. You saw him have the injury timeout during the game. Will didn't even play. Other guys have bumps. They need this time to get back as close to 100% as possible, because when they do that, like, a lot of people ridiculing, look at the offense sputter. We got protection issues, all these different things, injuries, especially, you know, is with your maestro quarterback, injuries along the offensive line. You're not going to get Zach Zinner back, but you have other guys that were banged up in there. That is going to shore a lot of these things that you saw yesterday up. Plus, you got to give Iowa credit. Iowa's a really good defense. Kept trying to tell people that. People didn't want to listen. I think we saw that was true yesterday.
I want to talk Alabama, but first, Sam, I have never been to a Rose Bowl. You have been to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Listen, Michigan inaugurated the bowl existence in college football back in 1902. Beat Stanford so badly they stopped playing it for a few years. Yeah. But this is the bowl game, right, for Michigan. Mm-hmm. It's the one they've been to the most. It is the granddaddy of them all. Mm-hmm. It's iconic in so many ways, and I feel so lucky that I get to go this winter. You've been. Just, is it everything people say?
Yes, it is. I liken it to the first time. I mean, it was maybe even more impactful. The first time I remember stepping on the Michigan Stadium field, my knees kind of buckled a little bit, because it was just like, wow, I'm standing on the field. The Rose Bowl, it was like an aura about it. It was like hallowed ground. As much as the Big House is hallowed ground, this was like everything that you talk about, everything that you watched on TV with your family every single year. The scene is picturesque, the San Gabriel Mountains and the pomp and circumstance. It is an amazing, amazing experience. Frankly, I didn't care who you could have told me they had to play Washington.
Yeah.
In that game, I wouldn't have cared, because the Rose Bowl is that iconic. There, for all the tradition that has been lost in college football, I'm not complaining about it. Times change. It's good to have a few things that are like it used to be.
Yeah.
And the Rose Bowl is like it used to be.
Yeah. And special in a year right before college football changes, right? Another thing that's changed in college football: Michigan #1, Alabama #4.
Yeah.
You know, Michigan. We're talking to Blake Corum. He said, "We are the top dogs, right? We are #1 for a reason." Haven't watched all of Alabama this year, but obviously one of the more impressive wins, knocking off Georgia. They had a 4th and 31 that if they don't convert that, we're not even talking about Alabama today. So listen, it's a mobile quarterback in Milroe. It's maybe not the most pass-happy quarterback in the world, but very, very talented team. You know what you get when you're facing Alabama. What's your first thoughts on that matchup and what they might pose challenges for Michigan?
You know, anytime you deal with Nick Saban, anytime you deal with a Nick Saban team, you know their defense is going to be like that, especially in the secondary. Names change, performance stays relatively the same. It was a journey for them offensively. Tommy Rees, new offensive coordinator. I don't think he knew how to make the offense. I don't think he knew how to suit the offense to Jalen Milroe's talent. Right? I think it was a journey for him, and they even benched him at one point. It wasn't on Milroe. I mean, you got to figure it out. You got to come in and cater your scheme to your team. And I think he struggled with that early. I don't know if Nick sat him down. Somebody had some sort of maybe it was a come to Nick meeting. Like, you got to figure out how to get this guy gives us our best opportunity to win games. He obviously has great improvisational skills. And I was really impressed with what he did in that. The 4th and 31 play wasn't just luck. They double all the routes in the middle. He had one-on-one on the outside. And so he placed the ball. He chose a one-on-one matchup, and then he placed the ball in a position where his guy had a good shot at it. It was more than a 50-50 ball. It was more than just throwing it up as a Hail Mary. That shows maturity. That shows awareness. I think he's good. But as I've been saying, Alejandro, you get to this stage, the difference. I mean, the teams are often quite comparable. The coaches are comparable. Do you have one or two guys that can be that transcendent figure, that can be the difference versus the other guy, that he is better than the other guy on the other side of the same position? And Michigan has that in J.J. McCarthy. He is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. And if push comes to shove and it comes down to a battle based on that, Michigan wins. That's why this month off is great. You need your gunslinger to be as healthy as possible in this game, because he's an improv guy too, right? You saw he pulled it last night, wasn't quite 100%, kind of rumbled around the corner. All that's going to be cleaned up. He's the difference. The teams who win it, the teams who get to the mountaintop, have that guy. And I think J.J. McCarthy is that guy for Michigan.
Well, everyone is wrapping up here in the ballroom. They're shutting it down. The Michigan football team, they get a week off. But they are on their flight back to Ann Arbor. We will be heading there shortly. It's been a special ride. 13-0, three-peat as Big Ten champion, Sam. First time outright that has ever happened in Michigan football history. 144 years, winningest program in college football. First time this has ever happened. Thank you guys for following along the ride. It's been a blast.
Yeah, and the SEC, it's not on their turf.
It's not on their turf. That's right.
You know, even when Michigan played Bama at Jerry's World, it's still in the South, right?
Yeah.
You're always playing Bama on their turf until now. It's still warm, right. You know, but what? Still, they're away from Bama.
Maybe in the 50s, you'll see some winter coats on those Bama sidelines. Yeah. If it's in the 50s.
Yeah, let's get it. Michigan said bet. Let's go. We'll see you guys next time.